Hi, Laura Beasley here. Here to talk about some comic books. I thought I would talk about my December pulls, even though it's like the end of January now. Just because I went to the shop last week and nothing had come up on my pull list, and there really wasn't anything on the shelves that I was interested in. So I guess I'm not abysmally behind, which is kind of how I usually am when it comes to comics, so I guess that's kind of nice. But anyway, there were some things that I really loved that came out in December, and I just thought I would, have a little chat about them. So, the first title, Hellboy in Hell, number 5 by Mike Mignola, is really exciting, mostly because this title isn't coming out on a monthly basis. The art's by Mike Mignola, who's the creator of Hellboy. So it basically just kind of comes out whenever Mike Mignola has time to do it. Like number 5, this issue came out in December, and number 4 had come out in March. So basically between then and December, I had completely forgotten everything that had happened in this storyline. But I went back and reread it, and then I made the mistake of talking to my husband Eric before I read this issue, and he was just kind of like, meh. This issue doesn't really advance the Hellboy in Hell story arc along. It's really much more like, a one-shot short story. And I was like, oh, okay, well, whatever, I'm gonna read it anyway because it's Hellboy. And I did, and I actually really enjoyed it. Mostly just because it has all of these wonderful, like, Mignola elements that are just so classic, like skulls and demons and Hellboy talking to dead guys, and it's just a really fun romp through hell. Basically, a damned man encounters Hellboy in hell and kind of enlists him to help him find the grandmother of the devil he sold his soul to. And Hellboy doesn't have anything else to do. He has nothing better to do, so he's like, yeah, sure, whatever. And, yeah, it just really felt very old school Hellboy to me. Just kind of the short, snappy Hellboy stories that really got me involved in reading it in the first place. So I really enjoyed it. And then, kind of thinking about it more, I realized that it probably really does tie in more to what's happening with Hellboy in Hell, primarily because, in issue 4 there's a demon who kind of, concludes the issue by saying, like, just let Hellboy think that his part to play is done. Just kind of let him go about his business while, the players in the drama of hell, continue to do their thing, and once it's his time, it'll be, he'll be here. But also, at the end, there are kind of two guys who were also damned by this, who had also sold their soul to the same devil. And they're like, I think we're gonna hang out with you. So Hellboy basically has some kind of, like, dead guy gang, and Eric thinks that it's gonna become his, like, army in hell. So it'll be really interesting to see if that's what actually happens whenever the next issue comes out. Next is Wonder Woman number 26. It's by DC. And the first time I read this issue, I was just very, like, I don't know, I just really was not feeling it. I was like, ugh, I'm really not loving Wonder Woman right now. Mostly just because it's just like a lot of kind of quibbling between the Olympians who are, vying for power. And to me, it was really feeling like Wonder Woman was being, like, made second string in her own book. I don't know, which I'm not that into. I really like Wonder Woman, and I would like to see her kind of have more agency. But then I reread it, and Wonder Woman's still doing her thing. She's still kicking butt. She's out there in the world, you know, saving her Olympian brothers and sisters and beating up hyena guys. But for some reason in this issue, like, Hera and Diana and Hermes think it's a good idea to leave Zola and her baby alone with Strife. Like, why? You know, Zola, who is mortal and probably feels really vulnerable and like basically the perpetual third mortal wheel, even though, you know, whatever, Hera's mortal now, but, you know, Zola never came from a place of power, so it's a completely different thing. Anyway, Strife basically convinces Zola that she should leave and take her baby with her because she's just a burden to Wonder Woman and her friends, and that, you know, who's going to have to die for them next. So she does. She just leaves, and Diana comes back after, you know, saving one of her brothers in Chernobyl. From Cassandra, who needs to know the location of the firstborn, which is also kind of a plot that I'm not really digging. I don't know. To find that Zola's gone, and, you know, it ends with Zola in like a subway station who encountering another Olympian, but she doesn't know he's an Olympian, or it. I don't know if this character has a gender. Anyway, so it'll be interesting to see how that spirals completely out of control. But yeah, I don't know, I really enjoyed Wonder Woman. I love her as a character. I loved this title when Cliff Chiang was doing the artwork. But I don't know, I just haven't really been feeling it lately, so I don't know if I'm going to keep reading it for that much longer. On to Marvel titles. Wolverine and the X-Men, number 39. This is one of my favorite books, and it has been since they started putting it out. It has everything that I love about X-Men and very little that I don't like about X-Men, i.e. Cyclops in it. I just really love this like hokey, punch it in the face with a rocket flavor of X-Men. It's just my favorite. So this issue's pretty fun. Wolverine gets a tip about a secret S.H.I.E.L.D. base in the Rockies that's full of Sentinels, so obviously he, you know, hops right on that. And Cyclops has gotten the same tip. So they both show up at this secret base and start punching Sentinels. And there's banter and explosions, and it's X-Men, and it's really fun. And it's also kind of interesting to see Wolverine and Cyclops, who are kind of, you know, getting old. Their powers are kind of failing them. You know, Wolverine's healing factor is gone. Cyclops can't really use his laser vision, whatever it is, to the extent to which he used to be able to. So fighting the Sentinels is kind of hard for them, and we'll see how that works out. But meanwhile, back at the Jean Grey School for Higher Learning, we learned that the two new mutant students are actually undercover S.H.I.E.L.D. agents who are there to collect intel and basically take out the mutant threat. So kind of one of the most fun things about that, or this, like, S.H.I.E.L.D. as antagonists subplot, or plot, I guess, since that's pretty much what's dominating this issue, that came out of Battle of the Atom, is like the systematic like revealing of these secrets about like the Jean Grey students, as, you know, these S.H.I.E.L.D. spies learn more about them. And it's really interesting to see kind of the darker side of a lot of the students, especially like Brew. It's revealed that, you know, he's still kind of feral. There's this really striking image of him like covered in blood, like hunched over this deer carcass, like under the light of the moon, and it's very eerie and unsettling. But cool because, or yeah, it's cool because you know, this title is really about kind of the hokey, joke-making, you know, totally ridiculous, you know, mutant versus whatever melee basically all the time. So it's really fun, or at least for me, it's been fun and interesting to kind of see this other side to the students. So, kind of ended with the SHIELD undercover agents being found out by the students, so I'm guessing the next issue is going to be full of head knocking, which is cool. And then X-Men number 8. This, I feel like this title is actually just really starting to get interesting. The characters are finally, I feel like, starting to warm up to one another. Like, when it began, you know, Storm and Rogue and Rachel Grey and Psylocke were just all very, I don't know, kind of at arm's length with one another. And it's fun to see them interacting kind of more warmly with one another. So that's been fun. And also with the introduction of Monet, who's kind of like this hot shot, beautiful, wealthy mutant, into kind of the scene with Jubilee, and this, yeah, it's fun because Jubilee is just such like a petty, immature character, I feel, and they have this very petty, immature, antagonistic relationship that it's kind of fun. I feel like it gives Jubilee kind of a reason to be. Like, I feel like they just kind of gave Jubilee a baby, and now she has a baby, and she hasn't really been driving the title all that much otherwise. Like, I don't know, Wolverine is, or excuse me, Jubilee is just not really that interesting to me, and I'm a little confused about why she keeps kind of popping up in these really integral roles in these X-Men plots. She was cool in Battle of the Atom though, so. But anyway, so basically in this issue, Archaea, or a live sample of Archaea, is stolen by one of the rebooted Lady Deathstrike's minions from the Jean Grey school. Sublime, Archaea's brother, follows them, along with Psylocke, to where Lady Deathstrike is camped out, and, you know, she has this, they have the sample of Archaea in a bag, and she opens it, and Sublime's like, no! And whatever, Archaea's dead, or at least she's dead on this chip, but she could be alive on this meteor that fell to Earth somewhere else, so all the bad ladies jump in their private jet and fly up to wherever this is, where Enchantress from Thor happens to be exiled to, and they find this meteor, and they're going to form this like sisterhood of evil ladies. So I think that's going to be really fun. I really like the rebooted Lady Deathstrike's kind of new design with the Dia de los Muertos, or like at least the skull face kind of makeup. It'll be interesting to see. I don't know, Archaea's not really that exciting, but I'm all about like sisterhood of evil ladies, so yeah, will be fun. Looking forward to whatever comes next. Next one is Midas Flesh, number 1. This wasn't on my pull list. It wasn't something that I had requested in advance. It was just like a total impulse buy. I had seen some of the covers floating around on Tumblr and Twitter, and I was like, oh, that looks really cool. And then I saw it in the shop, so I picked it up, and I'm really glad I did. The art is really fun. The plot is really fun. The characters are really unique. I don't really know what they are, if they're like space pirates, or like space thieves, or like space soldiers of fortune. I don't know. It's basically about 2 ladies and a velociraptor flying around in space. Like, yeah, and it's really great. Yeah, and one of the main characters has like a hijab. I'm pretty sure that's what it is, but anyway, I think that's really wonderful because it's just not something you really see in comics. It's, you know, you're not, I think, on average, you're not going to step into a comic book store and see like a cover of a book with, you know, a woman in a hijab on it. So I think that's really wonderful, and the characters are really great. Yeah, they're just here to pull off one big heist in this alternative reality where King Midas turned the entire planet Earth to gold, to solid gold. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to the next ones. I'm a little disappointed I didn't get the variant covers by Emily Partridge or Noelle Stevenson. But I don't know, variant covers are kind of a scam anyway. Story's just as good regardless, so it probably doesn't really matter. But yeah, I'm really glad I picked this one up. Next one is a title by Image called Pretty Deadly. This is number 3, by Kelly Sue DeConnick with art by Emma Rios. And if you're not reading this book, there's something wrong with you and you should fix it immediately. It's just really wonderful, a really wonderful change in pace from a lot of the other stuff that I'm reading, or maybe is even, you know, out on the shelves, period. After reading superhero books and then reading Pretty Deadly, it just makes me feel really dumb. You know, the writing is just fantastic, but I always have to kind of go back and make sure that I'm picking up on everything that is being, you know, laid out. Like, it's not like Wolverine and the X-Men or Wonder Woman where they're kind of just spelling everything out for you. Here, you know, you have, it's, you know, you kind of have to dig and you have to pay attention. And I mean, it's not hard. The art is so stunning. The color palette is really unique. And we're finally really getting into, finally, there have only been 3 issues, but we're, at this point, we're getting into the backstories of some of our main characters, which is pretty exciting. Like, we finally kind of learn a little bit more about Fox in this issue. And it ends with Fox and Sissy in a jam. I don't really want to spoil it. I think you should just go buy it. Just do yourself a favor and go buy it. But if you're not reading this, you definitely should be. Another title by Image that I picked up in December was Rat Queens. They had an issue 2 second printing at the shop, and I saw it and was like, I just got really excited. And I think that's primarily because I had just reread Magic Knight Rayearth, which is a manga from the 90s by Clamp, which is, you know, basically about these ladies who are transported to another realm and have really cool weapons and armor and giant robots, and set in this like fantastical realm. And it's about friendship and loving and supporting each other. And I just really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed rereading it, and I was totally riding that like lady fantasy gang high. And so when I saw this, I got really excited, and I was like, heck yeah, I'm on board. For whatever this is, I'm on board. And I hadn't read issue number 1, so but I figured, you know, like, oh, whatever, it's issue number 2, I should be able to pick it up pretty quick. It's not like it's issue like 15 or 27 or anything like that. So where I won't have any idea what's going on. And then I took it home and I had no idea what was going on. It was mostly just a lot of like punching and bone breaking and bleeding and killing and drinking and swearing, and that stuff's all fine and it's fun, but I just had no context and was incredibly confused. So later in the month I went back and picked up a reprint of issue 2, and I got issue 3 as well, and I'm really glad I did. I'm really enjoying it. It's not like quite what I was really hoping for after reading Magic Knight Rayearth. It's totally its own flavor of fantasy lady lead comics, and that's fine. But yeah, so it's basically about the Rat Queens, who are a group of adventurers who are kind of comprised of some pretty common fantasy like tropes, like an elf and a dwarf and like a magic user and a halfling who I think they call smidgens. Anyway, they have already made their fortune and basically hang out in this town where they live making a ruckus, and their punishment for making one particularly bad ruckus is having to go on a quest. and on this quest, an assassin appears and is trying to kill them. So the book is basically about attempting to discern who is trying to kill them and how they can get out of this jam. And it's really fun. It's written by a guy, and there's nothing wrong with comics being written by guys, but I think it's just a very different perspective on like the dynamic between women and kind of what this is. Like, I don't know if they're like friends or if they're kind of like business partners or exactly what this relationship is. Instead of being like, we're best friends and we go on fantastical adventures, it's more like, we're all ladies and we kill people. And that's fine. It's definitely a fun read and I'm totally on board. I guess I'm really just interested to kind of see where it goes and like what this world is really like, mostly because there are kind of some interesting elements where like some of the characters will have like tattooed sleeves or like a shirt with a decal on it, and it's like, okay, what is this world exactly? Wondering if it's gonna go to like that weird place that Skull Kickers went, where like one of the main characters had a gun, even though it was like a medieval fantasy world. And I know it's like totally ridiculous that, you know, you're suspending your disbelief and you're like, oh yeah, dragons, oh yeah, dwarves, yeah, magic. And then like one of the main characters who's like a dwarf had a gun, and just like, no, I'm done forever. That was just kind of my experience. So obviously they're going to do whatever they're going to do, and it's probably going to be good. So yeah, we'll see where that goes. Let's see, where's my other rat queens? And I saved my favorite for last. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 29, the Northampton storyline. This is basically an amalgam of my like two favorite things in comics. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, art by Ross Campbell. So I really enjoyed this issue. It's been a huge shift from the previous storyline, City Fall. Quick recap, wherein Leonardo is captured in a fight with the Foot, and Leonardo is brainwashed by Shredder and becomes Shredder's like second in command. And it's this huge, like, all-out struggle between the Turtles and the Foot, and the Turtles and Splinter trying to get Leonardo back. And there's this really heartbreaking scene where, you know, the Turtles and Splinter see Leonardo for the first time, and he's in all black. And, you know, Splinter just implores Leonardo to come back. He's, you know, you're my son, this is your family. And Leonardo's like, I'm not your son. And it's totally heartbreaking, and I cried when I read it, which is not a reaction I ever expected to have to Ninja Turtles. We're like, cowabunga, pizza, ninja stuff. Anyway, so basically the way that ends is with this all-out brawl between the Ninja Turtles and the Foot, who have co-opted all of these other, you know, gangs like the Purple Dragons and kind of all these other crappy gangs that no one cares about, to create this like underground crime syndicate that controls all of New York City. And the Turtles are just trying to stop them and get Leonardo back, and you know, they're being wailed on by Rocksteady and Bebop, who are making all of these bad but wonderfully bad jokes. And it's just so intense and action-packed and violent, and it doesn't let up for a second. And eventually Raphael is able to punch some like sense back into Leonardo, and they get in a van and drive up to April's like parents' country house in upstate New York. So it's a huge shift, a very dramatic shift from something that's so fast and intense and violent to something like Northampton, which is so quiet and introspective and slow. But that said, you know, it's great. This is one of the issues of Ninja Turtles that I've enjoyed most since I started kind of collecting the singles. of the IDW reboot. And yeah, I think it's just so exciting to have Ross Campbell on board. He's doing 4 issues, 29, 30, 31, and 32. And he's also a huge fan of the Turtles. Like, he talks about it on Tumblr and Twitter all the time. He makes fan art all the time. And I just think it's so wonderful to have someone who obviously loves a property so much working on it. I think it really shines through. The art is gorgeous. Yeah, and I think it just makes it so much more joyous that, you know, he's working on it because he loves turtles so much, even though this issue is actually really sad. Anyway, yeah, so the turtles are all kind of holed up in this barn. Splinter's leg is broken. Leonardo basically has PTSD. He flashes back between being Leonardo and being the tune-in for Shredder, and there's this incredible tension between Raphael and Leonardo, and there's always tension between Raphael and Leonardo, but this time it's just sad, and, you know, Raphael doesn't know what to deal with it. Nobody knows how to deal with it, and it's just really sad, and just seeing the turtles is kind of just so broken and wondering, you know, if they can ever come back together as a team, how Leonardo can ever be okay, how the turtles can ever be okay. And then, you know, kind of Alopex, who's another mutant who was working with the Foot, shows up after having betrayed Shredder and Karai, and, you know, it'll be interesting to see if she and Leonardo, like, bond over that experience, over that, like, trauma of being used by Shredder, doing things that have really hurt their families. So yeah, and then I think also, like, there were some fun kind of moments between April and her parents. Her parents, or at least her father, worked for, I think in this one it's called StockGen. Yeah, StockGen it's called, instead of TCRG. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing where it goes. The art is wonderful. The art's wonderful, the story's very compelling, and yeah, I can't wait for the next issue. So that's it. Those are all my titles for December. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you guys all again with my January comics, probably sometime in February. Yeah, thanks so much.